And all right. Hello. So we're doing a little live stream today, just so we can learn about Wagtail and watch me try to actually get Wagtail running on my machine. Now, I haven't used Wagtail before. It is, as you can see, the leading open source Python CMS. I haven't used it before, but I have heard a lot about it because my colleague Don Wages is actually, you're on the board, is that right? They have
Core
a board.
team. Yeah.
Core team. There you go. The core team. Okay. So Don is on the core team. So Don, can you pitch us on Wagtail?
Yeah. So Django is batteries included Python web development. It's a lot of batteries. I think they're really good essential batteries that I like when I'm building most of my things, but I can understand how people want to pare it down and things. And even more batteries and more opinions are Wagtail CMS. So one of the draws to Django is its admin panel. Wagtail, you have two admin panels, so you still have very easily have access to the Django one, which is the classic blue and white. I'm sure we'll come across it as we play. We might want to like stay in the AI territory and not even play with that, but if we want to, we can look at it. And then there's also a Wagtail CMS admin, which is supposed to replace it and replace the need for it, because mostly what you're expecting to build are pages. So, for example, I'm an agency. I've actually worked at agencies who use Wagtail. And I want to build a bunch of sites for literally a bakery or a coffee shop or a law firm. We use Wagtail in a law firm too, and where they're going to put in like a lot of documents and content. We'll use Wagtail, and so it's good for me because I can make a lot of money off this agency by using this package over and over again, and then insert my own opinions where Wagtail doesn't make them. But it comes with a lot of opinions, so hopefully people like them. But there's other really great CMSs too. And we all play nicely with each other. So you could do Django CMS or some others.
Yeah. Okay. That's great. That was a great intro. I see here under like why Wagtail. There's Wagtail versus WordPress.
Yeah. So I think it's
Wagtail
a really
versus
interesting
Drupal.
discussion when you talk about Wagtail versus like huge giants like WordPress or Drupal. So it's interesting. But like I love the security of Wagtail. We're like really big on security where WordPress is not as good.
Okay.
You got to build all the things yourself. And also if Python can do it and you write in Python, it's so much easier to just kind of add these new features. And I think that's one of the reasons why Wagtail AI is so cool, because not only are we like going to be able to get AI and I think our content boxes, maybe we can use whatever is behind the scenes and connect the AI into other things, and you can use some of the same patterns. Maybe, I don't know, maybe they look good patterns, or you could see some patterns that you're like, oh, okay, well, I use something different on your other ones. You're the AI expert. I don't know.
Yeah. We'll see. Yeah. So I'm hoping that I can get Wagtail AI working as well.
Cool.
All right, cool. Okay. So then, so there's various ways of getting started. So you can just pip install Wagtail. So I assume if you pip install Wagtail, then that also is like bringing in Django, right? Yep. Okay. Because Wagtail is built on top of Django.
Yep.
But what I prefer is always starting with a demo app. And so they have this Wagtail Bakery demo app here. So Wagtail/bakery demo. And it has various ways of getting started. And let's see. So if we look at these ways, there's Gitpod. I've actually never used Gitpod. There's Vagrant, which I used to use a bunch back in the day. I just haven't used it recently. I don't even remember if I have it on this machine. I think maybe we used it at Khan Academy or something. Docker, of course, I use Docker all the time. The only reason I would normally try using Docker, we could try using Docker because it probably would work fine. But I'm not sure how well that's going to work with the Wagtail AI just because of how the authentication is set up. Generally, authentication, it can be a little tricky depending on what kind of authentication you're using. So that's my only hesitancy with running inside Docker. So I was hoping I could
with dev containers. Do you like have what kind? You put the features in the dev container?
Yeah, well, when I'm in the dev container, I actually authenticate inside the dev container. But Wagtail AI is built off of LLM, which stores everything like locally. So So you can actually see like my keys are actually stored in where are they? I was just opening it up. My keys are stored like in a local file on my machine.
Okay.
So I'm just not sure how well it would work. So I was thinking first I would just try it with virtual env. Now it's interesting because they talk about virtual env, the Python package, and they say that's the recommended installation approach for Django. But in fact, I think venv is the recommended approach now that venv is built into Python. So I wonder if this is maybe slightly out of date.
Ooh, okay. Okay. Let's look.
So I was thinking we could just use VM, right?
Yeah, let's use venv.
VM, it's built
I
into
absolutely
Python.
always use venv.
Okay,
And so that will definitely work.
Okay, so I'm just going to pretend that these are VM commands.
Okay.
So let's see. So we get this, right? We cd, okay? And then I'm going to make, so I'm in my folder, and I am going to make a virtual environment the way I usually do it. So Python m VM, and I'm going to put the virtual environment in the .vm folder. You can call that whatever you want, but .vm is the coolest thing to call it. And that takes a hot second. And this is going to just be using my local Python 3, which is currently 3.11, which is pretty good. I think Django supports 3.12. Okay, fine right now. I don't know what Wagtail.
I think they're just, I think they stay up with the point releases. Yeah. Like that are out, like, we should have 3.
I mean, let's
stay with 3.11, but I actually want to know.
Yeah, you could check to see if they've got tests working here. If the tests lint.yaml, is it running? Oh, the lint only runs in 3.9. Yeah, so it's always a good question because actually really interesting. The most recent commit says downgraded Django 4.2. So I already know that this doesn't work with Django 5.
Oh, right. And we're on bakery demo too. Yep. So there's going to be a lag between when they update bakery demo and what's the latest of Wagtail.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. So that's fine. I'm using 3.11 by default anyway. Okay, so I've got my virtual env. So now I need to activate it. Source.vm bin activate. Okay, now I am inside my virtual env, so I can install the development requirements. All right, so you can see it's loading a ton of Django stuff, Wagtail stuff, Django debug toolbar, which some people say should be built into Django.
Yep, a lot of people
Django
do.
extensions. I don't know what's in Django extensions, presumably extensions.
I use it all the time and I can't remember.
Okay.
No.
CSP, let's see. That probably stands for content security policy. You said that Wagtail cares about security. Database URL. Black, rough, curly lint. I like that. That sounds fun. Oh, that must be for linting your templates. Is that right?
Oh, yeah, maybe. Yeah, for Ginger templates, maybe. I don't know.
DJ HTML. That's my DJ name.
That would be great. That would be like legitimately laugh. That was great.
REST framework. Django filter. Oh, this does bring it. This is like how you can find out about like all the Django extensions you might want. Model class. There's a lot of Django extensions.
Well, while we're waiting, if you want to, you can go to I think it's djangopackages.org. Are you familiar with Django packages?
No, it should be Django
packages.org, I think. Yeah.
Oh, who's this maintained by? I feel like maybe
Jeff Triplett is one of them.
Oh, that's what I thought. Okay, then I have seen him talk about this one. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's really good. And I think they're going to get a redesign soon. And I don't know, but they keep it. They're pretty meticulous on it. Same people who do Django News, which people like a lot.
All the Django stuff. I only recently signed up for the Pi Coders newsletter, the one that Anthony recommended.
Oh, yeah. I'm very excited about joining that one. I really like
I just got the newsletter a couple days ago. It was pretty good. Pretty good. That way you don't have to feel like you have to constantly check, Mastodon or Hacker News or something. All right, so we've got it installed and everything installed fine. So the next step is to set up our environment variables. You're using Django.env. That's nice. It's probably based off of Python.env. It reads environment variables located in a file name .env in the top level directory of the project. Great. That's what I love to do. The only variable we need to start is the Django setting modules. All right. This is great. It does everything the way that I like to do things.
Oh, that's good. Yay.
So because it has like a .m.example file. I always do that to make sure people don't check in their .m's. So we can see, and all this content security policy. Great.
I'm one of those people who I'm not particularly opinionated. And I was learning Wagtail as I was learning Python and Django at the same time. So if I do, this is the way that I do it, or I've forgotten and I did it wrong because I just didn't remember what I wanted to do otherwise. But yeah, so I like hearing that this is also what you do.
Yeah. So these ones are good. This one matters when we go to production here. All right. So now, the thing I'm interested in is the fact that they didn't have us set up any database connection. And I assume you need a database unless it like defaults to SQLite or something. I guess we'll find out very soon.
Yeah, we can look in the settings. I don't actually remember. Probably SQLite. I don't remember.
I mean, I guess it's a cool way of making it so that you don't have to set up, because the one reason that I usually use Docker containers and dev containers for everything is because I hate setting up databases locally. Like, I mean, I do have my Elephant running, so I can set up a Postgres, but I'm just not very good at using this Postgres client. So I'd rather do it inside a Docker container. But that all just worked. Okay, now I'm super curious as to what the database connection is. So maybe it is a SQLite, because normally I don't use SQLite because we can't. Normally I deploy to Azure, and we can't deploy SQLite to Azure because Azure is a cloud file system, and the SQLite just doesn't really work correctly on a cloud file system. But maybe it does work where this is set up. But let's see, where would the settings be?
They would be named demo. Ooh. They would demo twice. Oh, and there is one that says Bakery Demo DB, a file.
Yeah, I wonder if that's the actual database then.
I think that's probably it.
All right, so settings, and I guess it'd be dev.py, or we could look at also there's base.py. Okay, so let's see. So don't use that one in production because now everyone's seen it. All right, installed apps.
Dev. I don't think it's going to be in this one, but we should check since we're here. But I think it's probably going to be in dev.
A bunch of CSP stuff, a bunch of Wagtail settings.
Oh, there you
go. It's always good to look at this stuff.
Well, oh no, that's Wagtail search. Never mind. But it is how they're going to do the database connection is using Wagtail Elasticsearch for it, and you can use a database for that if you like.
Here we go. Aha. Okay. So if you define database URL, then it connects to it. Otherwise, it uses SQLite 3. Nice. And you're right. It was that Bakery Demo DB folder. Cool. Well, that's nice.
It won't work for dev and it's in base, but this is good. I guess it's because it's.
We can look to see what's in. Yeah, what do they override? Not very much.
Yeah.
Email back in.
Cool beans.
And then probably in production. So of course
they have a production. Oh, well, there is. So I have this desire to write a blog post on it, but I keep forgetting on how to deploy Wagtail to Azure. And they have these like tiered, we're working on this tiered kind of providers lists that support production settings, certain type of production settings. So they've been really getting really opinionated in sharing some of these production settings. So
there's a lot for AWS in here. So definitely people have been deploying this to AWS. Probably whoever works on this fairly familiar with AWS.
There's Fly.io and some other ones too. I haven't been keeping up with the whole industry.
Okay, well, it doesn't need to be set up in production. Sure. All right, so we migrated. Now we're going to see the initial data or load initial data. They call it here. So that is, I guess, going to give us some sample data. The bakery stores are almost ready to open. Super cute. All right. So far, this is a great experience.
Yay.
Now we're going to run server. Okay. And we've got, and we have default credentials. Oh, I didn't know. I thought you always had to do create super user. So I guess you can set up Django with its own default credentials then.
I think that's what the load initial data did.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I could take a look at that. Okay. Cool. All right. Ooh, looking okay. Am I super zoomed in? Yeah, sorry, I'm a zoomer. Okay, look at this. Wow. It's a very pretty font too. Okay, so here we go. And then the whole thing you're saying is that there's a really good admin. Is the admin still going to be /admin, or do I go to a different URL?
It depends on what they set it as. You can call it whatever you want. It'll be in your
Oh,
URL.
this
Yep, there you go. So it is.
this
So
looks
that's
like
the
it.
Wagtail login admin.
Admin.
And usually it's if you want to see the Django one, it is Django-admin.
Oh, okay. So that's what they did. So they set admin to the Wagtail one, and they set Django to a different URL. Okay.
Yeah, it'll be all in your default urls.py.
All right. All right. So here we
Oh, I
go.
love
So
this.
this is the Wagtail CMS. Okay.
So we've gone over a lot of different changes in the admin these days, and I really like that they've done the demo data where they show you like the moderation workflow. I've not played with this part yet.
Mm.
But yeah, this is what the backend looks like. And so technically, if you go into your Django admin, you'll see all of these same things because they're just objects in the they're still using models.model object, but they're just pages is the class type.
Yeah, this is cool. So you say so Wagtail adds a lot of like moderation, or what does Wagtail add? Like clearly it has added some stuff. It
So
looks
it'll
like
do
this like workflow idea, right?
Yeah, so there's a lot of like fiddly small things. For example, the concept of child pages and parent pages, having a root page, having kind of a multi-site structure if you wanted to. So multi-tenancy CMS is like really not easy, but they so it can work well. You also have different types of fields, so they translate well. So you'll have a heading one, and it like they'll have its like default out output for your heading one, but you can also have this other type of WYSIWYG editor where you can do code blocks and insert pictures and highly format something for your client. It's uses this very interesting kind of component concept.
And do you so I guess you like we defined this component ingredients list because we know we always want that, right? That was
Yes.
something we defined.
Yep. And so then anytime a component ingredients list shows up on the site, because I've designed it for my client, it'll always show up brown with rounded corners and bullets that look like this, and it'll sit adjacent to the left if you want, things like that.
And where do okay, this is what I was looking for is like where do we I guess these are like kind of like tags.
Yep.
Where do we modify those components?
Code.
Oh, okay. So we won't see that here. That's fair.
So the developer would build the UI as the end user would want. And then this allows for someone to, and I could like, for example, if I wanted to, here's a real one that we used. We had a call out box for our end client, and they would say sale starts this date and ends this date because it would run sales all the time. And we want to use this kind of icon, and sometimes we want to make it blue, sometimes we want to make it yellow, sometimes we want to make it green. And so we'd give them a drop down menu to pick blue, yellow, green. We'd give them an option on whether or not the template would sit the image to the left or to the right. They could pick the image that they wanted, and they can put their generic text that they want to. So they are now able to reuse that component anytime they want it on their website. So it kind of does serve that CMS-y kind of part.
All right. So that must be the blocks, the notion of blocks.
Yep.
Okay, cool. All right, super interesting. All right, so I think it works. And now, so this must be the rich text editor, right? Okay, so that's what we want to try and bring AI into.
I think so.
So now we can move on. Actually, I didn't know that we'd be able to get this up so easily. Okay, good. It's always nice to get something up. So now we can move on to Wagtail AI. So Wagtail AI is integrating LLMs into your into the text editor. So it says it can do spelling and grammar checks using an LLM and generate additional content. And to use it, highlight some text and click the magic wand icon in the toolbar. So I don't think it's installed by default. We'll just check. There's no magic wand there. No.
Okay.
So we'll just try it out. Okay. We could also check for installed apps. So let's just double check the installed apps to see if it was in there, because we did check out those settings. So that would be in base, installed, and we see okay, so there's no Wagtail AI in here. Okay, so that means that we're gonna follow these steps. So the first thing we're gonna do is actually, let's be good and add it to our requirements, right? So requirements / I guess base, because we're gonna always want it. And so we'll add it here, Wagtail AI. And I don't have a version offhand, but we'll just leave it like that. And then we'll do our pip install again. Okay. And it should pick up that now we need to grab the AI. Yeah. So it's bringing in some dependencies.
Pydantic is in here. That's cool.
Was that already? Yeah, Pydantic. Lots of the AI ones use Pydantic these days. Okay, OpenAI, blah, blah. NEIO. Okay. All right. So yeah, it has Wagtail AI. Good. Now let's go back to that settings.
PyYAML. I wonder why. Why do you know why they would use PyYAML, for example?
Oh man. Oh yeah, probably because LLM uses, so the tool this whole thing uses Simon Willison's LLM tool, and that LLM tool does define some extra settings in a YAML file.
Cool.
So I'm not a huge fan of YAML files, but that is actually where those are defined. Sometimes you have to use YAML apparently, because we never found a better format, which is fair. Okay, so that's why. Yeah, it's because the LLM tool is using YAML files.
Cool.
Okay, so we added that as an installed app, and then we need to add a configuration. All right. So let me actually show LLM just to prove to you that LLM is working. So this is the LLM tool, and it's interesting to me that they're using this because I think I think of this as a command line tool, right? So here we can do check to see what the what the options are.
Okay.
So it's about accessing large language models from the command line, but presumably you can also use it from Python. And there's the documentation, and this is from Simon Willison, who makes data sets. So that's why it's llm.dataset.io. So you have to, actually configure it in terms of both what models you use and what keys your models are using. And then you can give it a prompt.
Question. What are the alternatives to using this? Like what problem is it solving? Like,
yeah, it's a good question. I actually wonder if this is the best fit for this. I think we're going to be able to get this working locally, but I am definitely nervous about trying to get this working in production, just because you'll see how I have to do the configuration. It involves a lot of local files currently, and maybe that would work fine in production. Or maybe there'd be a different way to override it. So the alternative would be, so I think they're probably using it because LLM is a wrapper that knows how to interact with multiple models. So theoretically you can use OpenAI, you can use Azure OpenAI. You should be able to use the other local models like Llama 2. I did have there's a bug that I ran into when trying to do that. But I think basically Wagtail AI wants a wrapper over lots of different ways of interacting with models.
Yeah.
And so what are the wrappers? So for me, I actually personally just use the OpenAI SDK for everything. And I just substitute different configurations, because
we're not really expecting to do a plug and play on other options necessarily. When you're building it for OpenAI, but this allows for you to plug in other.
I mean, the thing is, what I've found out is that let me see. I think I have a blog post about this one recently. using llama file. Okay. Yeah. So a lot of these local, like, things like llama file, Olama, like the wrappers over other models
Mhm.
have provided OpenAI compatible endpoints so that then all you have to do is you just swap out, like, this is what my code will look like, right? Where it's like, okay,
Mhm.
if I'm gonna use like this like local Llama 2 model or whatever, I just pass in no key and then I pass in the endpoint for it. So I
Mhm.
get away with using the OpenAI SDK for pretty much everything. For OpenAI, for Azure OpenAI, for local models, I just use the same Python SDK, and
Oh,
that's worked
okay.
pretty well.
Okay.
Um, but I do have to do all this like kind of like environment variables set up to figure out like which one am I using right now.
Okay.
I think
Okay.
it actually gets a lot hairier than that. Yeah, I support a lot of things, but it's all using the OpenAI SDK um, behind the scenes. So
Cool.
yeah, so I think the goal, right? You could also use something like LangChain, but LangChain is pretty heavyweight. So LLM is nice because it's lighter weight than that. It's not trying to do everything that LangChain's doing.
Oh, okay.
But generally, the goal is like, let's have a way that we can interact with lots of models, and that's what LLM does.
Very
So yeah,
helpful.
so let's see.
Thank
So
you.
I do have LLM configured, so I can do LLM models. So these ones are all default, I think. And then I added this Azure one because I typically use like Azure OpenAI. I do have OpenAI.com I can use if I desperately need to, but I usually use the Azure one. So
Okay.
that's this one I added here. So you can add you can configure additional models. You can also configure your keys.
Mhm.
So if we do LLM keys, right? So I've got my Azure key, and then I don't know, can I like show LLM keys? You can outpath the path. Um, this. Okay, yeah. So those are the
Cool.
okay. So we have to look at the. Let's see. Let's look at LLM. Da da da. All right. So if you look at where's other models? Okay. So here's a documentation about how to use other models. So
So
you can
what
basically
are
use.
what are we doing right now? We wanna just follow down this daisy train on why this was set, or are we setting something new?
I wanted to show how I set up
I love that.
Azure. Actually, let's just see if I can use one of the built-ins, and because
Okay.
let's see if I did set that up. So I just want to show how LM works. Okay,
Yeah, that's great.
so this will be so we're saying this is the model. We're going to use this model, and I'm just going to say ISEP. I'm very chatty with LLMs.
You gotta be nice to your
Okay,
LLMs.
yeah, that's right. That actually seemed to work. So let's challenge it a little bit more. So you have you have one dog
I
or
have
two
2
dogs?
dogs.
Haiku about two dogs chilling with
Aw.
Dawn. I always ask for haikus because I don't want it to like waste extra tokens. Here you go.
Aw, I actually really like
There
that.
you go. All right, so that one worked. Okay, so apparently I did configure my OpenAI.com key in here. So let's see if I also have it working with my Azure OpenAI. So we'll just give it the same thing. And it probably will be a different result. I don't actually know what the default temperature is. Maybe the default temperature is 0, so we'll see. There we go. Oh, look at this. Dawn's warmth
Aw.
fills their hearts. Oh, because your name is Dawn. That's why it keeps doing sun. Oh, that's
Yeah,
great.
just like they meant to
Uh,
do it.
it's so good. Okay, so I have both of these configured. So if you want to configure additional models,
Okay.
here is the documentation about it. And there's actually an open pull request to clarify how to do the Azure models. So I need to comment on that request and try to get it merged. But you can check that PR if you're trying to do Azure.
Cool.
All right. So LLM is working. So that's good because Wagtail AI is going to attempt to use LLM and use the models we have configured locally. So now we can go back here and set up this configuration for the Wagtail AI plug in. So let's go, where should we, okay, we'll just go here. Okay, so we have class is LLM background, model ID. All right, so it should match the ones we just used. So we either did GBD3.5 Turbo. I think that was a default, and it looked like that one did work. So let's just check that again. We'll check. Okay. Yeah. All right. So let's see. It says if you're using an OpenAI model, specify an API key using the OpenAI API key environment variable or setting it as a key in init quarks. I'm wondering why this is necessary because I thought it would use the LLM keys. So I'm tempted to just not specify it and then see what happens. See if it can just use the ones that LLM is using. If you're restricted, okay. I don't. So it says if you've restricted rich text features, add AI to your list of features. I assume the bakery demo doesn't restrict the features.
I don't think so.
Okay, that's what I would imagine it wouldn't. Okay. Okay, so now I guess we would just restart and see if it worked.
Exciting drum roll. I'm gonna look up restricting rich text features.
Oh, I have to migrate. Do I really have to migrate? Or is it just like
that makes sense because you're creating a new app?
Oh, so you always have to migrate for a new app? Oh,
if you're adding it to the like apps in that settings list, it'll have its own
wow
thing.
I always forget how much you have to do or how much stuff is involved when you Django. All those batteries. All right, let's see.
Yeah, so many batteries.
Then we're gonna go to /admin and we're gonna go to Southern Cornbread and find a rich text field. Is this one a rich text field or is this one? I don't know which. I have to figure out which of these. Okay, I think there's a rich text field.
Stream fields within, I believe, the rich text field, but you can tell if you go to it says the page type. It says let's go. We're on a standard page now. That is a paragraph block, which could be rich text. If you hit if you just like go to edit that, I guess.
Oh, there you go. We got the magic wand. Okay. All right. Okay. So let's see. Is it
wow.
AI completion. And I'm gonna go ahead and open up the terminal. And okay, so to be fair, it says we need to pass API key. Okay, I was really trying to avoid. So I hate keys, and I hate having to set them. And with Azure, I don't use keys. So that's
what does this key exactly mean? Isn't it like how they charge you?
It is for OpenAI.com. Well, it's how they identify you and then how they charge you. For Azure, I don't use keys. I use the default credential, managed identity, like using my authentication.
And is that through Azure CLI?
It's through any of those things, right? So it can use like it's the here it's the so if you're doing it in Python, there's the default Azure credential, and so it will there's a great wiki like page that shows so it'll try all these different ways of getting your authentication. So it'll check the environment, it'll look for managed identity, like when it's deployed, it'll check the Azure CLI, it'll check the Azure Developer CLI, it'll check PowerShell, it'll check the VS Code credential because VS Code has a credential. So it does this like chain of checks to find, are you logged in any form whatsoever? Okay. And if so, does the logged in person have access to this resource? So this works in conjunction with RBAC, role-based access control, where you say, hey, this user has this resource, this is your resource. It's generally much more secure than using a key. Because here's the thing, once I use a key, as soon as you see my key, anyone can use that key, right? Which is why I really don't like using key. Like it's just a bad practice because you end up having people like accidentally using the same key in an organization, using up each other's quota, checking their key into source control, showing it on a live stream as it's about to happen. So fine. All right. So then I'll start with the OpenAI and then I'll see if I can get it working with the Azure one. So the fact that, because I actually did set this up locally, so it didn't have to, my LLM doesn't actually have to use a key for Azure, but
Okay.
I'm guessing that, well, let's see if I change it. I'm guessing I'll get the same error if I change it to the Azure one. I would need to look into how they've done this. But actually, let me try changing this to the Azure one. I'm pretty sure I set that up to use the keyless authentication. Okay, so it's Azure GPT 3.5. Okay, let's try this again.
Okay.
Oh, and they're showing off their pretty video thing. Okay. So reload. Go here. Highlight. Done. Go here. See the error. Oh, well, this is fair. Token limit. This is a new error. This is good. Token limit is not configured for module Azure GPT 3.5. That's fair. So token limit is how many tokens can be sent in a request to an LLM. And a lot of times when you're building apps that use LLMs, you do need to know that so that you can limit yourself to a certain number of tokens. So what I can do, there is actually documentation in.
Is it like session tokens to manage?
Oh no, it's completely different tokens. It's when you get back responses from an LLM, it's split up into tokens. And like for English, it's usually like a word at a time, or maybe even parts of a word at a time. It depends on the language, but it's basically like the way in which an LLM chops up text is the tokens. So for each of the models, there is a limit to how many tokens can be sent in. So for example, for GPT 3.5, the limit might be like 8,192. So that means there's only that many tokens you can send into the large language model. So you're limited in how much text. So it means you can't send War and Peace to models because it's just too big.
Okay.
So I did see that mentioned in here was specify the token limit for model. Okay. So great. So they actually make it super easy to specify the token limit. And I can just go in and do that. Sorry, I'm using BI, which I'm obviously not that good at, but
you're much better than I am. You're not getting any shade from me.
All right, so token limit, is it 4096? Let me check. I usually use VS Code. I don't know why I haven't bumped it out. Just because I have too many VS Code windows open, I can't deal with them. So the token limit for GPT 3.5 total is actually more like 4,000. Oh, 4096. Okay, that's good. That's the right token limit. All right.
So you said you need to know what's the right token. How did you know what is correct, not just an opinion?
Because I've implemented the same code as Wagtail AI. I was just complaining about this yesterday. Like we've all implemented our own token counting code. So this is like a dictionary that I happen to have for our RAG repo, which maps models to tokens and has its own way of mapping the Azure ones to the OpenAI ones, right? So I was just checking my own dictionary.
I love it.
But you can also when any model, you can kind of look it up and say what's, they usually say what's the token limit. Like Google actually just, I was actually just reading not Mew, bunch of cats. Oh, it was a Pokemon. Okay. If you look at this, what you can see is so many people saying, what is, what's the token? No, I saw all these. Oh, because they must be I was reading it this morning, but, these ones must have gone down. Send me 4 more comments. Okay. Oh, I just saw the answer. Here we go. The context length. Okay. It's also called the context window or the contents length. So the one that Google just announced as an open model has a contents length of 8,192.
So, if it's dictated by the model, but you're communicating to the model, why would that need to be a field you specify to them?
Yeah, because usually we have to have logic to figure out what we should be sending, right? So let's say here we select all this and then we click the magic wand and then say, send this to the model. But imagine that what we selected was greater than 8,000 tokens. So we didn't get an error. So the nice thing to do is that if we realize that the user has tried to like ask something or do something that requires too many tokens, we would just truncate it ourselves before we send it to the LLM.
Oh, okay. That's fair. Okay.
So we can look in the Wagtail AI code to see what they do. They probably implemented similar code to what we've had to implement for our LLM applications as well. We really just need to make a package that does this. Okay, so let's try this out. All right.
This is very cool. I'm learning so much. This is very cool.
Yeah, me too. All right, so we're gonna click on this. I'm still wondering if it's gonna work.
Okay.
All right, got an unexpected keyword argument API type. So this is happening in LLM. I wonder what version of the LLM they're using. Okay, so I'm guessing that it's having an incompatibility with maybe it's using an older version of LLM or something like that, but it doesn't like the Azure one. So so now we know that even though LLM, I can use it with Azure, the way in which Wagtail AI is using LLM is not currently working with Azure. So
and there's an extra key that it wasn't expecting. Is that correct?
Yeah, yeah, because we get this kind of area because you do need to, like, if you're going to like support Azure versus OpenAI, there are slight changes in how you configure it. So so I'd have to look into what's happening, whether Wagtail AI is using an older version of LLM or just passing things in a different way. So I can look into that later. So we'll go back to the more standard model here, and then I'll just go ahead and use a key. It pains my heart. Okay, sorry. So let's go to so I'll log into openai.com, and I always forget what to continue with. Let me just check it to see if I have it in my. I get such like decision paralysis. Okay, it's not there. So now I have to remember which one to continue. There's just too many options. Let's try Google. Okay, that seemed like it kind of worked. All right, now I'm going to go to API keys. Okay, so what I do is I make a key. I call it delete it live stream. Okay, call it that because you're going to see it. So then I copy it, and then it says we need to put it in a put it in a environment variable. So where are we looking here? Okay, so we're gonna do here OpenAI on API key. All right, so export OpenAI API key equals this. There's my key. Have fun using it, everyone, for the next 20 minutes. Okay. And then we're going to quickly run the server. All right. And get off that screen. And go back to here. And reload. All right. And now we select AI grammar. All right. It's taking a little bit longer, which is actually a good sign. It's funny when you're developing like with LLMs. Look at this. They've made things like really big.
Yeah. I don't know why it's all bold. And they've also made every line, made it break every line. I don't know. That is odd.
Yeah. I'm not
bulleted.
Sure I don't know. Okay, let's try. Okay, so that was, let's see, AI completion. Thinking. I can't remember. Was that here before? I don't remember. I don't. Oh, look at all this. Okay. I think this is all new. All right. I think we have to like start. We have to really know what was here. Okay. So this is what was here. Okay. Memorize this.
Okay. Yes.
And then we're gonna go and.
Which section are you gonna do? Oh, just the first one? Okay.
Okay, I'm doing the first one, but maybe what it does is append it to the bottom. That's a tricky thing, is figuring out, because I use on github.com, when I'm making a pull request, it does have this feature now to write the summary for you, and it's actually quite good. So I've
I think
started
it did
using
add
that,
it to the
especially.
bottom.
Oh yeah, it did. Okay. All right, the official
Yeah.
site. Okay. Whether you're seeing it. 108.
Say
Well, so
goodbye to
yeah,
clunky interfaces.
Elasticsearch. Wow, it wrote quite a lot actually. Oh yeah, it basically, I think it kind of like it reworded a lot of this stuff here. Okay, so then let's see if we can get, all right, so then the official tutorial site. And then what about, let's write some like bad grammar, because it said it can help with our grammar. So, oh, punctuation bad, help me. LLM, I need help. Okay, I don't know. Here we go. You need to come up more realistic.
It's emphatically asking for help.
Yeah.
I think we should help.
Okay, so let's see. It didn't seem to change anything that.
No.
Do we have any? Okay, so I feel like the grammar correction. Let's see. Let's try changing this like things to know. Okay. Oh, it's funny because I also have this rewrite with Copilot option. I've got just like different LMs offering to help me all over the place.
That's through Edge.
Yeah, that's in Edge framework. But what I expect to happen is for it to. Oh, let's also do, because this is probably implemented with a bit of JavaScript too. Let's see. So it's using. Okay, I don't see any edits there or any consoles there. Okay. So what I thought is that it would. My expectation is that if I said correct grammar spelling, it would like just do an inline fix. But it seems like it keeps on bolding something. So maybe.
Yeah.
That maybe we should like start a new block. Okay, let's try a new block. Trying a new thing.
Okay.
Okay. And then let's try here. Okay, so that was great. Do you see that?
Yeah.
So I think something about this, like this might be a bug, right? Something about this field might be throwing it off. Let's try this one. Here we go. It's very good at actually fixing punctuation. All right, so what do we want to write about? Okay, dogs are great. Please write content about how great dogs are. What are your dog breeds?
A beagle and a Rottweiler.
Beagles and Rott. I'll misspell that purposely. Okay.
Okay.
Let's see what it does here. Here we go. It's actually, I wonder what prompt they're using because it's a fairly wordy output. You can really get very different outputs lengthwise depending on the prompt you use. Okay. So dogs truly are amazing. Beagles and Rottweilers. Beagles are known. Rottweilers, both Beagles. Yeah. So you can see why people are saying that you can so easily use LLMs to just to farm out content, because this is like probably fairly true. You can analyze it to see.
You won't be disappointed. All right. That's wild. But, I mean, like, that's cool. Okay. Yeah.
So, use widely. I mean, we've had the content farm situation for a long time with humans as well. Like, but now it's like particularly easy to, generate content. So use wisely, try to add something to the universe, like new information. So that's why I love using LLMs for these RAG chat applications where we're basically using it to enhance our search, our ability to search things, because I think a lot of people really struggle to search, and LLMs are pretty good at like collating information and synthesizing. I don't tend to use LLMs for generating, unless I'm generating haikus, right? If I'm generating things that are just completely, funny things like, poems or songs or whatever. But I don't tend to use it so much for generating, like entire new articles, because you can see that it can generate whole new articles. But it probably is not going to add anything unique to the the world since this is based off of existing stuff, right?
Agreed. We've been looking into those. What is it called? The degradation, where you feed in AI generated content over and over again, and it
Oh
degrades
yeah.
in quality over and over again. What is that called? What do you remember?
I'm not sure what the technical term for that one
It's
is,
very
but
funny,
yeah.
especially with some of those images. But I appreciate that. Yeah, I think the grammar is going to be a really, really good one, and
Yeah,
I
so the
really love
grammar's
the
really
note
good. It's
taking
very
one.
good at it's what
I love the note taking ones. I love the ones where they
Mm.
supercharge accessibility
Oh
features
yeah.
with AI. That's really great.
Summarize my notes. Let's see if I have like any like notes I can pass in from stuff. Let's see. I don't really okay. Oh yeah, here we go. This is like designing a new feature for our rag chat app. So I wonder how it would do with this. Maybe it'll like write, like kind of put it in paragraph form. So I was saying like GitHub, I do like using it for like writing pull request summaries, and there's like looking at the changed files and then summarizing it. Okay, so yeah, so I mean it can do a good job of turning notes into something more readable. That's kind of interesting. So, experiment with it, figure out how it works, and,
I'm looking
use
at
responsibly.
the Wagtail AI repo right now.
Oh, okay, that's what I wanna look at now too. Okay, great. I'm glad we
Okay.
moved on to looking at repos because that's my favorite thing. So,
Yeah.
what I'm curious about is the prompt. I really wanna see this prompt.
Okay.
Here we go.
And why is that particularly interesting to you?
Because I was noticing how verbose it was being, so I'm
Okay.
curious what this one is. So we have 2 prompts here. So you can see actually like I wonder
Oh.
if they don't let you do they let you override this yet? I don't think they do. Maybe they let you override it in another part because I can totally see people wanting to override this to like
Yeah.
really tweak or just add their own prompt. So maybe because it does say default prompts, so maybe you
And I'd love to
can.
have it accessible in other parts of the application. So I'm wondering if you can like hijack some of what Wagtail AI already does and then use it in different ways.
Um Yeah, let's see. They say, okay, it does say you can add your own prompts under settings prompts. Oh, that's
Okay.
why we also had to do that migration. That makes so much sense. Okay, great.
Okay.
So label inscription, provide the prompt, specify the core prompt that pass in a method which one of I love this. Okay, we need to and you can say append or replace. Okay, brilliant. All right, so let's go and settings and prompts. Leave site. Okay, so we have
Cool.
AI complexion. All right, so let's try a new one, which is the inclusive prompt, because I have noticed that LLMs can be good at making stuff like more inclusive.
Okay.
Although I've only tried that with like HTML. So let's see. So this is the prompt description. Okay, makes text more inclusive. Okay, prompt. So let's take a look at their existing prompts. So this would be like you're assisting the user. Okay, so I'm just gonna copy paste this. And okay, all right. Okay, so return the provided text, but modify it to be more inclusive and reflective of a global audience with varied abilities. I don't know. We can try different things. I've only done this to like make HTML like forms more inclusive. I
Okay.
haven't tried it just kind of generally for content. So we're gonna say replace content. Okay. All right. So then we go. We'll see how this works.
Yeah, but it's yeah. Let's see.
Okay. All right. So let's see, paragraph block. Okay, here are the degree majors that are permitted in our establishment.
Sure.
Math, computer science. Okay. All right, let's see. if it's gonna. Okay. Okay, well, it did add, we welcome students from all backgrounds and abilities to pursue their academic interests in these fields. Okay. Because when I did this, a similar prompt with like an HTML drop down for select your major, it would like kept on adding more and more majors, which I thought was cool. All right, so that didn't work. But let's think of something that, like, what do you see in like a job application that's like not
must relocate, must pick up 50 pounds. Yeah, rock star. Oh yeah. We're a family. Yes. Yep. And is a culture fit.
Yeah, and is a perfect culture fit. All right, let's see. Let's see how to go.
Okay.
I don't know how. Okay, there we go.
Oh, that's so much better already.
This is just so much better. It really radically changed that one, didn't it? That's so much better. Okay. So I actually think it's like it's actually it can be a pretty decent prompt. Like so and when I was using it for like gender, it'd be like if you had like you know female and male, right? And then I don't know if you'd have this in like a wagtail block, but who knows? There we go. People of all genders, including cisgender, transgender, and non-binary individuals.
All right. It works.
So yeah, it's a pretty good that's a pretty good prompt, but that's really cool. So that you can customize these prompts. So if we look at like this one, so the one we're using, get help writing more content-based narrative, your system the user describes text, assist the user in writing the remaining content. Okay. So that was like a pretty open-ended one. It was so long. What we could try is something that's a little bit like maybe shorter. Actually, another one I want to do. Oh, this is so fun. Okay, so we're gonna do is a new one, which is social media. If I
okay.
prepares for social media. So
okay.
You're in the user return the text, but scatter emojis throughout the text and make sure it is
Sounds exciting or something.
Is very exciting in writing content for a social media post.
Okay.
Exciting for social media users. Okay. I'm sure you could engineer this more. So this will be a replace. Okay. And then we're going to go back to our pages and go here. Okay. So then let's go to paragraph block. And then let me get like, I need like a boring post of mine. Let's see. Or we could just say Anthony's post. I just thought. No, let's see. Let's see. I've been trying to use more emojis because I notice people like those on LinkedIn.
People do like emojis.
All right, so let's try this. This one doesn't have any emojis yet. Okay. Let's try this. Oh my God, look at that.
That's hilarious.
I got it. Like it would totally work.
It really would work. That's gonna go viral. That's amazing. That's wild. Okay.
All right. So this is really cool. The fact that you can do the prompts, I think, is like that's kind of a game changer, right? Because some of the initial ones maybe I didn't like as much, like a little too long. I mean, the spelling and grammar one is great. I think there is some sort of issue that was causing this whole thing to go bold, which makes sense because this is a rich text field. So that's probably some sort of issue. But it's working really well. So I think in these ones where we start from scratch. So I think the thing to do is like, as you're starting, that's when you want to use it. And then maybe you do some formatting afterwards.
Cool.
All right. Well, this is really cool. I think we managed to get it all done in an hour, and my eye is starting to twitch for some reason. So I need to like go dunk it in water. But this was awesome. Thank you, Dawn. And it's really
This was
exciting.
so
And
great.
I'll figure out how to use Azure with it.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for having me.
All right. Thank you, Dawn. Bye.
Bye.